the Ozarks Sports Report YouTube show here, joined by the head coach of the Glendale Falcons baseball team, Coach Jim Julian. And for today's show, we're going to be doing a weekly recap with the head coach of the Glendale Falcons, head coach Jim Julian. Recapping their games from the past few weeks, Glendale took on Carthage and defeated Carthage by a score of 4-0. Then Glendale got another shutout against Cape Girardeau Central by defeating Cape Girardeau Central by a score of 9-0. Then Glendale also 10-run ruled West Plains by a score of 12-2. Glendale then suffered their first loss of the season to Lee Summit West out of the Kansas City area by a score of 6-2. Then Glendale got another loss against Platte County by falling to Platte County by a score of 11-4. Glendale got another loss to Lebanon by falling to Lebanon by a score of 11-0. Glendale also got another win by defeating Marquette by a score of 4-2. Glendale got some more wins against Nixa by defeating Nixa 1-0, also defeating Belton by a score of 15-0. Then Glendale got another loss against Jefferson City Helias Catholic by a score of 4-2. Then Galena got some more wins against Columbia Battle, Ozark, and Camdenton by defeating Columbia Battle by a score of 7-0, Ozark by a score of 1-0, and Camdenton by a score of 7-2. Coach Julian, what was the focus that you had going into the opening week and those games that you guys had in the last couple of weeks, including the opening week?
Well, you always want to get off to a good start, with the season, and we knew it would be a tough couple games with Carthage and Cape Central coming in. But, we got off on the right foot. Had some pretty good pitching performances those two games. And, just tried to play error-free. Did a pretty good job of that, just made a couple errors. But at the same time did a good job of playing around them and not letting them snowball and affect the rest of the game. And in the last couple of weeks, starting our district competition and a couple of conference games, kind of the same thing. You want to get off to the right foot with those games, to try to secure a top seed in the district, and then, try to win a conference at the same time. And so far, so good. We got a couple of good wins. Ty Wilmsmeyer pitched the Nixa game and the Ozark game, which were both 1-0 games in our favor, and both really well-played games on both ends. Well pitched on both sides, obviously. In a 1-0 game, there's going to be good pitching and good defense. So it's kind of some fun games to watch as far as that goes if you like pitching and defense. And then kind of the same thing with West Plains, our first conference game, and then Camdenton the other night, our second conference game. So 2-0 in district and 2-0 in conference and 9-4 overall. So can't really complain too much about the start of the year.
Definitely a good start of the year to be 9-4 overall, and then 2-0 in the district and in the conference. And what are the advantages that you've seen from the games against, once again, Carthage, Cape Girardeau Central, West Plains, Lee Summit West, Platte County, Lebanon, Marquette, Nixa, Belton, Jeff City Helias Catholic, Columbia Battle, Ozark, and Camdenton? We got off to a good start, like I said. Started 3-0 with Cape Central, Carthage, and West Plains. And then faced a really good Lee Summit West team who early on was receiving votes as far as top 10 in the state. And competed with them pretty well. They're just really good. We made a couple mistakes, missed a cutoff man, which led to an extra base and a run scored. And then a couple free bases and some little things like that kind of took the wind out of our sails in the middle of the game. But then dropped that one and then never did really recover against Platte County. Got beat pretty well, 11-4. And then Lebanon just handed it to us. That was a 0-0 game going into the fifth. And then our starter hit two guys in a row, and then they got a little ground ball through the right side, and then the floodgates just kind of opened. And that was our fourth game in less than 24 hours. Not making excuses, but we were just kind of flat those last couple of games, and then rebounded nicely against Marquette, who's a really good team. Beat them 4-2 to end that tournament, and then kind of got our legs back underneath us and
knocked off Nixa and Belton in battle, and then lost to Jeff City Helias, which is ranked number 2 in Class 4, 4-2. They scored a couple late runs in a 2-2 game. They scored in the 6th, and we had bases loaded in the 7th, and just couldn't get a key hit when we needed one. But really good game, really good for us to play really good competition. I'm a firm believer in trying to beef up the schedule as much as possible, and I think we have done a good job of that this year with our non-conference schedule. And plus, we play in a pretty tough conference with Kickapoo. Lebanon is really good. We played them earlier this year, but that wasn't a conference game. That was in that tournament. But they're a really talented team. And then Parkview, Hillcrest, West Plains, Rolla, Waynesville, Parkview. I think I mentioned them already, but pretty tough conference, and then trying to gear up for district play at the end of the year.
Definitely is a good thing to add some big competition in the schedule, and that's a pretty good big strength of schedule that you guys had. But so far, so good for the Glendale Falcons. And kind of tell me about Marquette. Are they from the Kansas City area? Are they from the St. Louis area? Where in Missouri are they from?
They're from the St. Louis area. They're just a really solid team. They've got really good pitching. We saw a left-hander, which we've seen a ton of left-handers this year. But we saw one of their lefties that is going to Notre Dame as an outfielder. But he's got, obviously a pretty good arm, which translates to pretty good velocity on the mound and pretty good curveball. So, it was kind of fun to see him and get a win against him. Our guy pitched pretty well in that game as well, and a 4-2 game.
And now another topic to talk about is those disadvantages. What are the disadvantages that you've seen from the games against, once again, Carthage, Cape Girardeau Central, West Plains, Lee Summit West, Platte County, Lebanon, Marquette, Nixa, Belton, Jeff City Helias, Columbia Battle, Ozark, and Camdenton?
Anytime you have a tough schedule like we do, you're gonna suffer some losses, but that's going to happen. We tell the guys you're not going to go undefeated. Very rarely does someone go undefeated. So how can you bounce back from a loss or from a disappointing game, or even from a disappointing inning or at bat, and get excited about the next play or the next at bat or the next game? And I think our guys are doing a good job of buying into that and understanding that it's a tough game. We play a tough schedule, so we're going to see good competition. And, if you can compete with them and learn how to play at that level all the time, no matter who you're playing, then, it's going to only do good things for you in the future, and hopefully it will later on this year. And, our schedule doesn't get any easier. We've got Parkview Hillcrest next week, and then Kickapoo next Tuesday, and then we go to U.S. Ballpark for a couple, play Fayetteville, Arkansas, who's a pretty solid team coming in to U.S. Ballpark. We play them there. And then we get Daniel Davis and the Willard Tigers the next day on that Friday. So Willard's having a really good year. Coach Davis is doing a good job with those hitters, and Coach McGee always does a good job with them. So that'll be a really good test, and that'll be fun to see Coach Davis again pretty soon.
Definitely Coach Davis to see there from Willard. He was who, if we recall back from about a few years ago, he was the former assistant coach down in Crane for Coach Brian Harmon. And so as you go into those games, once again against Parkview, Hillcrest, Kickapoo, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Willard, once again Branson, Waynesville, and then Rolla, what are the corrections that you're going to be making in between their last game against Camdenton until the next game against Parkview, as well as the games with Hillcrest, Kickapoo, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Willard, and Branson?
We've got to hit the ball a little better than we are. We're hitting 272 as a team, but once again we're seeing pretty good pitching. I try to tell myself that, and me and my coaches were talking about that yesterday after practice, that we thought we'd be scoring more runs than this, but at the same time, we're seeing, some pretty good arms being thrown at us. But we just got to get more consistent at the plate. Work to all fields. Like I said, we've seen a bunch of lefties, and most of those guys have tried to stay away from us. And so I think the mistakes we're making, and when we're getting ourselves in trouble and getting ourselves out, is when we're just getting pull happy and trying to pull the ball instead of using the whole field and hitting it where it's pitched.
Hitting where it's pitched. And another question to talk about is you guys have already played some schools from St. Louis, Kansas City, Southeast Missouri, and then you're going to be playing an out-of-state school of Fayetteville. What's different about Southwest Missouri baseball compared to baseball in Kansas City, St. Louis, and down in the Boot Heel, as well as down in the natural state of Arkansas?
Not a lot, really. Everybody thinks that, baseball's better probably up in St. Louis, Kansas City area and stuff like that, just probably because we don't see them as much. But, those teams came down, and, there's not a whole lot of difference. Baseball's played the same no matter where you are, all over the country. It's the same game, but just a matter of competing against whoever is on the other side of the field, and, not so much worrying about what they're doing, but worrying about what we do and trying to do our jobs as coaches and players. And if we do that, then, I don't think it matters who we play. You're going to be able to compete. You may not win them all, but you should try to stay in every game.
Also, forgot to mention about Mid-Missouri baseball in Class 4 and 5. What is so different about Mid-Missouri baseball in Class 4 and 5 as opposed to baseball in the bigger classes down in Southwest Missouri?
Class 4 and 5 are bigger schools, so, we've got more of a pool to get players from. When I was at Forsyth, I had 20 to 25 or so on my entire JV and varsity roster every year. And now at Glendale, we had 63 come out, try out, and had to cut some. So we just got, a little bit more resources, I guess you could say, as far as more players to pick from, things like that. In bigger cities, there's more opportunity for lessons and indoor facilities and stuff like that at a younger age. So, kind of overall, some of the players and some of the kids are maybe a little more polished on average than maybe smaller schools, just because of those kind of opportunities and training facilities and private lessons and things of that nature.
Also, another thing to talk about is the player of the week that you would pass out from the last couple of weeks. Who would be one player that you think shined out on the baseball diamond for the powder blue and red Falcons there at Glendale? Who would be the players of the week that came out from the past couple of weeks to open the season from Glendale?
I'd probably say the top one probably is Ty Wilmsmeyer. He pitched against Nixa, shut them out 1-0, squared off against Isaac Mitchell from Nixa, the pitcher that has committed to Arkansas to pitch. So that was a pretty fun game to watch. He's a big lefty, not your typical crafty lefty. When you think of a guy like that, he threw pretty hard. He throws in the mid-upper 80s with a good curveball. So that was a fun game to watch. And Ty, was really efficient through 8 innings, only threw 92 pitches and kept them off balance with a good mix, and beat them 1-0. And then a week later, we played Ozark, another district foe, and, they're number one against our number one, and Wilmsmeyer, and kind of the same story. He carved them up, kept them off balance, pitched backwards, was a real pitcher that game too, instead of just a thrower, and beat them 1-0, and was in total control of that game the entire time. And he's doing it at the plate also. He's got a couple home runs, couple doubles, just doing a great job hitting. Put him in the 2-hole, and he's come up with some key hits and some key spots. He's hitting .412 on the year with 10 RBIs, 2 home runs, 6 doubles. So he's having a pretty good spring so far for us. But
hitting over 400 as what we heard with about 5 or 10 RBIs, as well as few doubles and a couple home runs. That's something to put on his resume. And also talk about Ty Wilmsmeyer as he committed to go play college baseball at another SEC school at the University of Missouri, also known as Mizzou. Why did Ty Wilmsmeyer choose Mizzou over like another school, say like Oklahoma or Arkansas or Missouri State locally?
He's kind of grown up a Tigers fan. His dad is from Columbia. They still have family there, so he's always followed the black and gold pretty loyally. But he went up there this fall for a showcase and had a really good showcase. Ran the fastest 60 of anybody that was up there, and just hit really well. And they were really impressed with him. So they offered him, that Saturday while he was up there, and he accepted it and was really excited about it. But it's kind of been his lifelong dream to play for the Tigers, and that opportunity came knocking on his door, and he accepted it.
Also, as we wrap this up, is there were any final words you had to say to the coaches that you played from the opening week now until your last game that was against Camdenton? What would be your final words to all the coaches that you played from the opening day until the last game against Camdenton?
We always, after the game, talk a little bit and always wish each other well. Coaching is a fraternity in itself. So just continued good luck and good health for all their players and everything like that. And hope we see them down the road. I know a couple of them we'll be seeing in district play, and hopefully we can continue our hot streak with district opponents and maybe not have to face all of them in the district tournament, but just continued good luck to all of them.
That's going to wrap up our show for today. We hope you enjoyed our show. We hope you enjoyed us sitting down with the head coach of the Glendale Falcons, Coach Jim Julian. If you'd like to stay connected with the Glendale Falcons through their social media, be sure to like them on Facebook. Also follow them on Twitter. Their Twitter is at GHS Baseball SPS for Springfield Public Schools. If you'd like to stay connected with Ozarks Sports Report through our social media, be sure to like us on Facebook. Also follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, and check out our website. Our website is ozarksportsreport.wixsite.com/Ozarks Sports Report. One final time, I want to thank head coach Jim Julian for sitting down with us to recap the opening week of the 2019 spring season. One final time, I'm Adam Smith from the Ozarks Sports Report saying, have a good day, everybody.